Hello, beautiful and courageous Leo souls, and welcome back to Cosmic Wisdom. Gather close, because the message we are about to explore today is one of profound importance, a whisper from the universe intended only for you. Have you ever felt like you are the sun in everyone else's sky? The radiant center of your universe, yet deep within your own heart, a chilling emptiness has begun to settle. You stay in a place, a role, or a relationship, not just because you want to, but because your noble heart believes that if your light goes out, every world you've built for others will plunge into darkness. Your soul once roared, "I am the pillar of strength. I am the heart of this kingdom. I do not have the right to falter." But now, my dear Leo, the cosmos is gently asking a new question. Who will reignite your flame if you keep pouring all your fire into warming everyone but yourself? This message today isn't here to convince you to abandon your kingdom. Oh no, it is here to remind you of a sacred truth. You are not leaving to escape your throne. You are leaving the stage of a play that no longer serves you, so you can return to the truth of your own magnificent, sovereign power. That journey begins in the one place every weary royal soul must eventually face, the deafening silence when the applause fades and a heart can no longer perform. Listen with your entire being, because what I am about to share is the beginning of your coronation. If this message is already resonating deep within your heart, if you feel that familiar ache of a lion whose roar has softened to a whisper, then know that your spirit has guided you here for a reason. Before we journey deeper, I want you to do two things right now to anchor this intention. First, let the universe know you are listening by commenting below. I am ready to receive blessings from the universe. This is more than a comment, it's a declaration of your readiness to be reborn. Second, if you haven't already, please press that subscribe button and join our Cosmic Wisdom family so you never miss these divine messages crafted to support your soul's evolution. My magnificent Leo, if you feel like you're standing on a beautifully decorated stage, but the theater is empty, if your heart has been quietly breaking behind a curtain of smiles, then perhaps this is the sign you've been waiting for. Your soul, your brilliant Leo soul, was never meant for a supporting role. You were born under the sun itself. You came into this life to radiate, to lead with love, and to inspire with your courage. You stayed when others fled, because loyalty is etched into your very being. You gave your warmth when no one else had the strength to, and you held the light until perhaps you forgot that you too deserved to be illuminated. I don't know what gilded cage you've been holding together. Maybe it's a relationship where you are the constant source of energy, a career where your brilliance is used but never truly celebrated, or a family dynamic where your role as the strong one has become a prison. I only know this sacred truth. It is time to pause. Not to abdicate your power, but to ask your soul, what am I still performing for? I understand this feeling in my very core. I once held on to a leadership role, believing that if I stepped down, the entire project would crumble. I poured my life force into it, working tirelessly, always smiling, always encouraging others. I told myself, they need me. My strength is what holds this all together. I organized a world that no longer felt like my own, all because I believed my value was tied to being the unshakable center. But then one night, in the profound stillness after a long and draining day, I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger with tired eyes. And in that moment, I finally understood. No one needed me to be their hero. I needed to rescue myself I needed to be rescued from the version of myself who had forgotten how to shine just for the joy of it. Leo, you have loved with the magnificent, boundless generosity of the sun itself. You've forgiven betrayals that should have extinguished any flame. You have stood tall and roared encouragement for others, even when your own spirit was wounded and silent. You didn't stay because you were weak or didn't know how to leave. You stayed because you believed that a true leader, a true heart, sacrifices their own needs for the good of the kingdom. But did anyone notice the dimming of your light? Did anyone ever look past your radiant smile and into your eyes and ask, "But are you okay?" Did anyone ever place a hand over your powerful heart and whisper, "You don't have to be the sun for everyone all the time"? Perhaps not, because you have mastered the art of majestic composure. You are the one who walks into the storm and commands the winds to calm, all while a tempest rages within you. But listen to me now. True love, whether from others or from the universe itself, does not ask you to become a shadow of yourself. True power doesn't come from endless performance. It comes from authentic radiance, and that radiance must be nurtured from within. If tonight you find yourself alone in the quiet, the crown feeling heavy on your head, and the silence is a stark reminder of your solitude, I want you to understand this. You are not failing. You are a soul that has shouldered the weight of too many worlds that were not yours to rule. And that exhaustion, that deep, soul-level fatigue, is your sacred wake-up call. It is a royal decree from your higher self, reminding you that you deserve to rest in your own light. You deserve to be loved with the same fierce, unwavering loyalty you give to others. You deserve to walk away from the stage, not because you are selfish, but because it is time for your true coronation to begin. This departure you are feeling, whether from a person, a job, or an old identity, is not a defeat. It is a soul's reclamation of its sovereignty. It is the moment you remove the heavy royal robes that have stifled your breath. It is the moment you look in the mirror and no longer see a performer, but a ruler who is finally, truly beginning to live from the heart. I don't know how long you have been holding this pose of strength, but I do know this. No soul was born to live forever in a role that dims its inner fire. No magnificent Leo was ever meant to keep radiating outward without ever drawing energy inward to refuel. So if you hear this, if your noble heart trembles with recognition, if you feel a surge of emotion you can't quite name, that is the sign. That is the signal from the cosmos that the time for your departure from the old script can no longer be postponed. And do you know what is so magnificent? When you truly walk away, it is not only you who is set free. Those who have been basking in your light, relying on your constant warmth, are given the opportunity to find their own inner flame. You pause, so the cosmic order of things can be restored. You walk away from the old stage, so the universe can build you a new kingdom, one that reflects your true, evolved majesty. And if you still find it hard to let go, if the thought of the curtain falling feels terrifying, try writing this down right now. Let this be your sacred ritual, a tiny promise to your own soul. Write, "I accept this divine intermission to return to my own heart." Just write it down and let the universe feel your intention. And if you feel courageous enough, tell me in the comments, what role is the hardest for you to release? Perhaps it's being the provider, the peacemaker, or the version of yourself who spent years performing just to be seen as worthy of the crown. Share it, because somewhere another Leo soul needs to read your words and know they are not the only one in the kingdom feeling this way. Leaving the stage is the first courageous act. But after you take your final bow, you will enter a space that can feel deeply unsettling, a quiet, empty theater. No one ever prepares you for this, and that is exactly where your rebirth begins, the sacred stillness before your true reign. Once you have stepped beyond that familiar stage door, the first thing that greets you is not applause, it is silence. A profound hush that doesn't feel peaceful at first, an emptiness where the roar of the crowd used to be, a space suspended between two worlds, where the old role no longer fits and the new one has not yet been named. It is in this silence that the doubts begin to creep in. Did I make the right choice? Was I too dramatic? Do I even deserve a life that isn't centered around the needs of others? You will walk through days when no one is asking for your leadership. You will wake up to mornings where the absence of responsibility feels colder than you expected. And inside, it won't just be loneliness you feel. It will be a sense of being unmoored, as if your entire identity was taken from you. But my dear Leo, listen to me very carefully. The emptiness you are feeling is the fertile ground where your new kingdom will be built. That frightening silence is the sacred space where your old, tired script is dissolving, so your soul's true epic can finally be written. You are not lost. You are in a sacred shedding. Like a magnificent lion shedding an old heavy coat, there will come a stage where even you do not recognize your own reflection. No one teaches you about this silence. No guru prepares you for this spiritual solitude, where you can't explain your feelings to anyone because they are not ordinary emotions. This is the grief of a soul reclaiming its own throne. I know part of you wants to rush back on stage. You long for a familiar cue, a round of applause, the comforting weight of a role you knew how to play, even if it was draining you. Be so very gentle with yourself here. This is the moment your heart is most vulnerable. This is when you are most likely to return to what is comfortable, just so you don't have to face the vastness of this new freedom. Do not do it. Do not trade the sovereignty you have just claimed for the temporary comfort of a familiar cage. Do not dim the light that is just beginning to flicker back to life within you, simply to convince someone else to stay in the audience. This silence, though it may feel like an abyss, is the very portal that leads you back to your own heart. I, too, have sat in that deafening silence, scrolling through my contacts, tempted to call someone, to offer my help, to prove that I was still needed. But the only thing I truly needed in that moment was not validation from someone else. It was a sacred vow to myself, a promise that I will stay with myself, even when the theater is empty. Have you ever done that? Have you ever placed your hand over your magnificent heart in a quiet room and whispered, "I choose my own reign today and every day after"? If not, I invite you to do it tonight. No fanfare, no audience, just you and your divine presence, fully offered to your own soul. In this stillness, you may begin to have more vivid dreams. You may start to see repeating numbers, like 111 or 55, signs of powerful new beginnings. Old songs may play on the radio with messages that feel written just for you. Do not be alarmed. You are not losing your mind. You are being guided. Your soul, after years of performing for others, has finally found a quiet space to speak directly to you. And in this stillness, you will begin to hear a profound truth. You no longer need anyone's applause to validate your existence. You are allowed to simply be. Your radiance is inherent, and that is more than enough. If right now your throat feels tight, If a tear of recognition surfaces, know this: it is not weakness. It is the river of life beginning to flow within you again. Like a powerful seed pushing through the dense earth, you are slowly, but with unwavering strength, beginning to truly live again. This stillness is not a punishment. It is the sacred space you have been given to finally hear the rhythm of your own magnificent heart. So do not fear the silence. Vow this to yourself: I allow this sacred silence to lead me back to my own light. And if you feel brave, share with us in the comments. When was the last time you truly allowed yourself to be in silence, without needing to be strong for anyone? Share it, not for me, but for another royal soul who is walking this path and needs to feel less alone in the quiet. And then, when you are still enough to truly listen, you will start to hear it, the call of your unlived dreams, the roar of your authentic self you've been too afraid to answer. And that is when your true awakening begins. Have you ever wondered why this particular sadness feels so different? It's not a loud, dramatic grief. It's a quiet, noble ache. It moves like a shadow in your throne room, sitting beside you, not speaking, but its presence is undeniable. You know it is trying to tell you something. My beautiful Leo, this feeling has not come to dethrone you. It has come to awaken you. This sadness is not a sign that you are broken or have lost your power. It is the exact opposite. It is the universe whispering, it is time to let go of the role you have outgrown. When a great snake sheds its skin, it doesn't mourn the old layer. It gracefully slips out of what has become too constricting. You too are in this process. This sadness is the last layer of the identity that once defined you, but now limits you. If you cling to it, you remain trapped in a costume that is no longer fit for the magnificent ruler you have become. I once believed that feeling sorrow was a sign of weakness. I would push it away, put on my brightest smile, and pretend to be invincible. But the more I resisted it, the deeper it settled in my bones. And then one day, I did something radical. I sat with my sorrow. I listened to it as if it were a wise elder, a trusted advisor. And I realized it hadn't come to break me. It came to show me the path back to my own heart. Are you hiding your own noble ache? Are you smiling for your kingdom while your heart quietly grieves within? If so, I want you to know that you don't have to perform anymore. True strength isn't found in suppressing your feelings. True leonine courage is daring to sit with your own heart, without fearing it will consume you. Why does your heart ache? Is it because a dream you once held so dear has been set aside? Or is it because you no longer recognize the person you see in the mirror, the ruler of a life that doesn't feel like your own? I believe you already know the answer, and your heart is here to tell you, enough. It is time to awaken. Leo, you are no longer the person you were a year ago, or even a month ago. The kingdoms you once ruled may now feel too small. The people you once walked beside may no longer resonate with your evolving frequency. Do not be wounded by this truth. Do not blame yourself for your own magnificent evolution. You are not changing for the worse. You are expanding. And your soul can no longer be contained by that which does not honor its light. I remember standing before a mirror and no longer recognizing the fire in my own eyes. They used to burn with passion and dreams. But that day, they looked tired, and I asked my reflection, who am I? Who am I truly living for? And I wept. I wept for the years of performing, for silencing the wild, joyful roar of my own soul. After that day, I understood. The ache in my heart was a signal that I had been living for too long without honoring my own sacred, sovereign self. Are you feeling that way now? If so, do not push it away. Let this sacred sorrow stay for a little while and listen to the wisdom it is whispering to you. I believe with all my heart that you are being prepared for something far grander, a life where you no longer have to perform to earn love, but where you become the source of it. A journey where fear no longer dictates the size of your kingdom, and you live as a soul, finally ruling from a place of authentic power. But before that can fully unfold, you must learn to release the invisible chains of memory that still bind you. If your chest feels heavy right now, try writing this down. I accept the magnificent evolution that is unfolding within me. Write it so your soul knows you are ready. And I want to hear from you. I truly do. What is it that makes your heart ache? What old role are you still clinging to that makes it hard to breathe? Leave it in the comments, not for me, but for you, to finally see it, acknowledge it, and set yourself free. Your courage in sharing might be the very permission another Leo needs to hear. Your sadness, dear Leo, was never meant to extinguish your fire. It is the sacred rain, washing away the dust from your crown. It is the storm that clears the air, allowing you to see the brilliant sun that has always been you. You are more than strong enough to face this, as long as you dare to look your own heart in the eye. You will see that this ache has come to give you wings, and once you learn to fly with them, you will understand that this was all just the beginning of a life more luminous than you ever imagined. Take a deep breath, because we are about to turn the page to a chapter where you finally find the kingdom your soul has always been searching for. At some point, you will realize you are no longer searching for a home outside of yourself, because your true kingdom was never at the end of some road. It lives in the quiet, powerful roar from within, and in the dreams you once set aside. Have you ever dreamed of a place, not a physical location, but a state of being? A place where your heart feels at peace, where your light is seen and celebrated without any effort. A place where you don't have to try to be understood, because your very presence is enough. We have been taught to search for our kingdom in the world, in accolades, in relationships, in possessions. But maybe the truth is, your kingdom is the place where you stop performing, where you no longer need to prove your worth, where your soul can finally breathe, not for an audience, but for the sheer joy of being alive. I have stood in the most beautiful, opulent rooms and felt utterly alone. I have been surrounded by applause and felt an emptiness that chilled my soul. And I have also sat alone under the stars with nothing but the cool night air and felt a warmth, a sense of belonging that filled every cell of my being. That is when I knew. Home isn't where the audience is. Home is where you no longer have to abandon yourself. Leo, how long has it been since you picked up that paintbrush, that guitar, that journal that once made your soul sing? How long has it been since you said goodbye to the very passions that used to fuel your fire, simply because someone else told you they were impractical, or because you believed your responsibilities had to come first? Life may have turned you into the one who carries the weight of the world, and little by little, you may have traded your inner fire to become a responsible adult. You stopped creating, stopped playing, stopped dreaming, not because you stopped loving it, but because you believed you no longer had the right to. But did you know, the things you once loved never left you? They have simply been waiting quietly in the wings, waiting for you to call them back to center stage. Can you hear that whisper? It is the voice of your creativity, your joy, your divine spark. And if you do not invite it back in, you will go on living in a body that looks majestic, but with a soul that feels hollow. Remember when you were a child? Did you need a reason to sing? Did you need a plan to play? No, because within you was a fountain of endless creation, an ocean of passion, just waiting for you to open your heart so it could rise again. I believe that if you get still enough, you will begin to see it, a flicker of light. It is your creative energy, your sacred fire that has long been suppressed. You can choose to ignore it, or you can open the door and begin again. You don't have to become a world-famous artist overnight. You only need to give yourself permission to live authentically. Write this down, right now, as a sacred decree. I give my sacred fire permission to burn brightly once more. And if you've ever loved something, but stopped because of someone else, tell me about it in the comments. Share it like a ritual to restore your soul. Because when you write it down, you are giving your spirit permission to live again. Maybe it was a dream of starting a business, writing a story, or simply dancing in your living room. None of it ever truly disappeared. It has only been waiting for you. My dear Leo, you are the soul of the heart, of courage, of radiant light. And when you live in alignment with that energy, you don't just live for yourself. You become a beacon for all those whose inner flame is fading. Let the passion you once set aside become the bonfire that lights up a cold world. And when you come alive again, radiant, luminous, pulsing with life, remember this: you were never forgotten. You only needed to be remembered by your own heart. And so, we close this journey not as a goodbye, but as a grand doorway opening for you to step through, with a heart that finally, truly, belongs to itself. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. Wherever you are, however you feel, please remember this. This departure is not an abdication. It is so that, at long last, you may truly live as the magnificent sovereign soul you were always meant to be. May you walk forward with a heart full of courage and hands that no longer cling to a script that was not yours. May the road ahead lead you to the most radiant, authentic, and powerful version of yourself you have ever met. Your true reign is just beginning.